You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello and welcome to the 42 Cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. As always, I am your host Nathan, and we have another great episode lined up for you where we're going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 5. But before we do that, let's meet our cast for this week. So, starting off, she is my co-host for all of my Star Trek episodes because we used to spend hours talking about Star Trek in my house while my wife just stared on in amazement. And that's my friend Stephanie. How are you doing, Stephanie?
I'm doing all right. And I mean, to be fair to your wife, before you would get home from work, she and I would be just talking about sewing and cosplay and everything.
Right. No, I know.
So...
Yeah, I know you guys had time together. I'm not saying that, like, but yeah, she had like no like way to like interact with us when we were in Star Trek mode.
and heaven forbid we got onto Babylon 5 as well.
Right, yeah, exactly. So how are things going, Stephanie?
They're going. I'm trying to remember when we last did a podcast here. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a Babylon 5 one, actually.
Right, yeah.
So what is new in that time? Not a whole heck of a lot. I've been kind of bitten with the cosplay bug again as I've started doing judging at a couple of conventions for craftsmanship. So my time has been being divvied up a lot differently, where I'm trying to manage. I've got way too many hobbies. It's no surprise that I was diagnosed with ADHD. But yeah, so now I'm trying to juggle my writing, juggle sewing, wig work, and then Tim's also doing it again too, so I'm trying to make costumes for him as well. And video games keep coming out, new TV shows, anime, all that type of fun stuff. So, oh yeah, plus I work. So, typical life of anybody nowadays, I guess. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, believe me, I am well aware of the having way too many interests and not enough time problem.
And I even just kind of sacrificed gardening this year because I had too much other stuff going on. So I'm hoping next year I won't have to do that. But it's been so hot and dry out in Pennsylvania. It's probably a good thing that I decided early on in the year I wasn't going to have time to touch that.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I have the black thumb, so I do as little yard maintenance as possible.
I used to, but I'm getting a lot better at it. So
yeah, no, I see you posting all the pictures and stuff, when you're in gardening mode.
Yep. And I've started doing a lot of focus on native plants to my region. So that actually makes it even easier to take care of because they tend to be a lot more adapted to the general conditions of where you live. And I'm also allergic to grass. So I'm hoping that next year I will be able to make my front yard, which is way larger than it needs to be. And right now it's just a whole bunch of grass. I'm hoping next year I'll be able to get rid of as much grass as possible and have that just a happy space for all the critters around here that I never need to mow. And all my neighbors will have brown, crunchy grasses. And I'll have a bunch of pretty flowers and greenery and purples and pinks and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so. Beth and I are both allergic to grass, but she won't let me replace it with AstroTurf.
I don't blame her on that. Tim, to say yes.
There are better choices.
Yeah, there are much better choices. I mean, even clovers are a good choice that you won't have to mow.
Yeah.
I was
But,
reading about clovers. Yeah,
yeah.
and I think I'm doing that unintentionally.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I
As
mean,
the weeds are taking over and replacing
right.
the grass, it's like it's slowly happening anyway. So
It's green. What do I care?
right, exactly.
and clovers don't grow tall enough to need to mow them. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you back on the show, Stephanie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, you already heard his voice, but he is our resident Don Knotts impersonator, and that is Steven. How are you doing,
Oh
Steven?
yeah, it's good to be here.
So what's new for you? It's been a while since you've been on the show.
It has been a minute. I am keeping busy. I have been doing a number of shows, and a couple of film projects and some TV here and there. So I've been keeping very busy.
So there was a movie, and it was something girl, I think, that
Gray
you were
Girl.
Gray Girl, yeah.
Yes.
So what happened with that? Because I never heard of a release for that.
I have an update.
Okay.
It's finished. The director was texting me actually all through the summer. It is finished. Now at one point he texted me, he's like, the movie's done. I just need to add a little more music into it. I'm like, what does done mean? But no, but it's finished. We're having a premiere at the beginning of September.
Okay.
And soon after that, it should be available at, I'm assuming, I think like Amazon and other places where you get on-demand streaming. I'm not sure where they'll all be. I will update everyone as soon as I know for sure where it can be found. But I know he's mentioned Amazon.
Okay, yeah, because you've just been saying like, it should be of interest to like listeners of their show, and so I'm like, oh, I want to know what this movie is. So
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely let you know, and I will be publicizing the link. But yeah, I'm thrilled. It's done. I can't wait to see the finished product. I'm eagerly awaiting.
All right, excellent. And so yeah, and you're working on other movies right now as well?
Yeah, I filmed I filmed in a movie that you will not see me in because I was cast as a photo double for a David Ayer film called Levon's Trade. Which my day on set consisted of me riding in a very nice car all through the city of Chicago while they were filming from another car in very tinted windows. And so you could have filled the car with clowns, I think, and you would not have known that there was any jump cut anywhere in that. But
well, you got paid instead of the clowns. So,
and it was a wonderful day on set, and the car was very comfortable and the people were nice. And yeah, it was a really good day. So, and David Ayer was on set, which was great. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool day. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's my most recent film project.
All right. Well, very cool. And it's good to have you back on the show, Steven.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
And finally, you know that he likes to be around for these Star Trek projects as well. He is the man that you love to hate, and that is Ryan. How are you doing, Ryan?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad. I don't have anything quite as exciting to announce or anything like that. I'm working a new job. That's about it. And I got a new phone. That's nice.
Okay,
cool. What did
is
you
that
get?
because of your old phone, like the planned obsolescence, like kicked in, and so you had to get a new phone?
Yeah, I mean, my old good phone died on me like 6 months ago, or maybe it's longer now. I don't know. So I was using an old phone, and now I just finally got around to my contract's renewed, and I can actually get something a little bit nicer. I wanted the Fold 6. Opens up, looks like a little tablet or whatever, but I was talked out of that, and I'm gonna probably resent that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, my phone's starting to act really flaky and do weird things or be really slow, and I'm like, Apple, stop doing this, because it's the thing where they force the hardware to start acting up so that you buy a new phone, and it's just
Okay, now what's telling me that he froze as he was saying it's starting to act really slow.
No.
I kid you not. I got you stopped talking and it was a freeze frame for a moment there.
It's all connected. Yeah. It's like the MCU. The algorithm is everywhere.
Although I don't want to jinx it, but I'm on a 10-year-old laptop right now, and so far it seems to be working. So
And then like Ryan
fingers
just suddenly
crossed.
like fades
Disappears.
out. The image is just gone. All right. Well, it's good to have you back on the show, Ryan.
Good to be back.
All right. So you know what time it is. It's time for a 5-minute controversy.
I'm against those.
Hot take.
It has been a while since I've actually had one. We've had lots of like episodes recently where we had 4 guests. So I was like, there's no time for a 5-minute controversy. So, all right. So 5-minute controversy, for those joining us for the first time, is just a way for us to talk about something that's going on in the geekosphere. It gives you a little bit of an insight into how we feel about things and also loosens us up before our main conversation. So this time we had an announcement last week at San Diego Comic-Con that Doctor Doom has been cast for the next Avengers movie, and that it is Robert Downey Jr. So Ryan is already shaking his head, so let's go to you first, Ryan. What do you think about this decision? Is it something that you think is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? What do you think?
So let me just walk you through that day. I'm getting all these reviews, all the stuff's coming out of San Diego, and I'm thinking, oh wow, that's kind of cool. Oh wow, I really like that. Oh, this trailer's really neat. And then I see this, and I'm like, okay, this is another, Serpent Society ruse or another fake out or something like that. This can't be real. This is a joke. And then I'm like, the day goes on, and no, this seems to be kind of serious, And then there's the next day, and this is actually happening. And I'm still in disbelief because it really just seems like, oh, hey, we want to get back the people that we lost in Phase 4. So, viewers, the seats in the theaters that we lost in Phase 4. So let's bring back someone that everyone knows, and we'll just use the whole multiverse, as a reason. And I kind of get that, yeah, you could argue that Doctor Doom and Tony Stark are two sides of the same coin, brilliant scientists in armor, sure. But it feels so cheap and gimmicky, and I'm not here for it. If it's just a one-off, they set up as him, and then going forward in the MCU, like at the end of this movie, we find out that the 616 Doom is actually someone else, maybe, that's fine. But this feels like really... I'm not for it at all. I legitimately, I feel like this is the stupidest decision that they've made in a while, if not ever.
Wow, big fighting words there.
Don't hold back, really.
Yeah. All right, Stephanie.
Well, I am kind of neutral, I guess. I really like the earlier MCU stuff. The last few movies have not really caught me all that much, though I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. I have not been so enthusiastic to go see a movie a second time in a long time. Yeah, I'm not a huge comic fan, so a lot of that stuff just doesn't really faze me too much. And from what I've heard from people who were comic fans, there is some logic to it, and there's apparently some storyline where like they're swapped or something like that. I don't know. I don't follow the comics. I don't even know who Dr. Doom is. So yeah, I'm just kind of going with it because it is what it is to me. We'll see how it plays out.
Okay. Steven?
I'm not going to lie. The first time I saw the news alert, I thought it was from The Onion. and then I know. And then I thought it was like fan speculation, like one of those fan sites or something. And I'm like, no, I was literally like, this can't be real. And then you see the video and it is. I am, as a big Marvel fanboy as I am, I'm cautiously optimistic. Here's what I hope is, one is that I hope it's a very distinct character. I hope they don't tie this to Tony Stark at all. I hope they're two very different characters, and Robert Downey Jr. can pull it off. He's that good an actor. He can really do. And the other is Marvel tends to, because they have big actors, They tend to show the characters without the masks and the, so you can see the actors' faces. But Doom is going to be really hard to do that with, right? Because if you do show him without his mask, you've got to have a lot of prosthetics anyway, right? Because he is sort of disfigured. So I do kind of hope that they lean into that a little bit, and we get to see that it is a very different character. But my other part of this is I thought part of why they moved to the new cast and the new sort of recasting the new characters as the heroes was because a lot of these guys were getting very, very expensive, Robert Downey Jr. being one of them. And so I feel like they're kind of locking themselves in a box, unless they've got really good negotiators who have locked them to an X number of picture deal, that it's their money, but they're going to put down a lot of money for this. So I hope they've got a good plan for it, other than to just a Tony Stark 2.0.
So I got a laundry list of concerns and issues here. So the first being, as I've said on this show before, this all happened because of the stuff with Jonathan Majors, because it was supposed to be the Kang Dynasty. It was supposed to be the Avengers movie. And I'm still saying, you don't plug Doom into a Kang-sized hole. Like, they are two different characters, and this pivot is going to feel so unsatisfying because all the movies and all the Disney Plus, like, everything was moving towards a Kang storyline, and now it's like, oh, nope, it's actually Doom. Like, there's been sort of like rumors that they've recast Kang, but with this news, I have a feeling that what that means is probably in the very beginning of this movie, there's going to be a guy in a Kang suit. We probably won't even see his face. We'll just see him from behind. Doom will just come up and kill him. And then it's like, it's my movie now, not saying that line, but it's basically like, oh, we've handed it off now to Doom as the villain. And it's just like, that feels so unsatisfying when they've been setting Kang up through, Quantumania, through the Loki show, like through all of this. It's like, oh God, really, guys? Like, why? Why are you doing it? Like, I feel like recasting Jonathan Majors, just keep doing the story you're doing and just have somebody else playing Kang. It's to me, it's ridiculous to pivot to Doom. So we're forcing...
And it's not like they've never done that.
Right. I mean, Terrence Howard, way back in the first Iron Man, is not playing Rhodey and has not since Iron Man 2 is on Cheadle, so it's fine.
Edward Norton, we can go on and on. Yeah.
Right. People have been saying Terrence Howard should play Kang now.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of different than the situation with Black Panther, because that was done out of respect for the actor's passing, where this was, the actor was just not a very good person.
Right. So this idea, like this mindset they're almost playing with is like no one could do Kang as well as Jonathan Majors or whatever. It's ridiculous and stupid, and it's an insult to all the actors in Hollywood. And I'm sure they could find, if they just took a little bit of time, they could find someone, maybe Giancarlo Esposito, instead of having him play a no-name nothing villain in the next Captain America movie, maybe just spitballing. Anyway, but so that's number one. Because I want Doom to be set up properly. I want Doom to be given what he deserves and not to just get Kang's sloppy seconds, okay? But anyway, so then we have this. So I'm sorry, Steven, I don't buy for a second they're not going to tie this. The whole reason for doing this is so that at some point the mask can fall off. We're going to see Robert Downey Jr. with like one carefully placed scar down his face. All the Avengers are going to be like, Tony? And then we see like he's a Tony from a reality where they lost Endgame or something, and like it made him bitter and angry, and like he took on the Doctor Doom persona or something like that, and it's going to be this cheap thing that is just like there for, shock value emotion grab. And I'm just like, because yes, would I love it if they actually did where like he's masked the entire time? Yes, and like they actually, no, this is Victor Von Doom, not Tony Stark in a Doom suit. I don't believe they're going to do that for a second.
That's my worry, but I really hope that they don't, because it seems like such an easy thing to fall into. And they're smarter than that.
The third issue, beyond just that this is just cheese factor, is that there are so many actors in Hollywood. Again, Giancarlo Esposito, if we're doing Doom, why not him? But like there are so many amazing actors in Hollywood that they could have cast to be Doctor Doom, and instead they're going back to what they've already had. And I feel like this is just a stunt grab, like, oh, let's see how we can ratchet up emotions and, get the audience to be like, oh, I really like Robert Downey Jr., so I'm going to watch this movie. And that's not the right way, I think, to build up your audience is with a stunt. It's with good storytelling. So
I completely agree.
So yeah, this whole thing, like, this is the first time I've actually been like, because I'm usually like, all right, let's wait. Let's see how it all plays out. Let's, with the Marvel movies, I've been that way through the whole thing, of like, we should watch and wait. They haven't steered us wrong before. But I'm starting to feel the sort of ennui of the MCU, Thor Love and Thunder, Secret Invasion, those two things, like, I really hated. And so I do feel like the MCU has made some missteps.
I really liked Love and Thunder, but I didn't even see the other one. I still haven't seen Quantumania.
I didn't hate Quantumania, but Eternals was the first really turn for me.
I haven't seen that one either.
I like Eternals, but yeah.
No, I'm glad somebody should.
But yeah, God, Love and Thunder was just like, let's make the stupidest stuff happen on screen for 2 hours, and I just
I enjoy it when things don't get taken seriously.
Anyway.
No, but that was my problem with Love and Thunder.
Well, this is Star Trek, not MCU. So
that's true.
Right. Yes. So yeah.
Well, Nathan brought it up, so
right. I'm sorry. So it was. But my point was that I feel like MCU has gotten beyond the "I haven't steered us wrong" point, and right now I am greatly, because there are like 3 or 4 different things about this that upset me. So even if like 1 or 2 of them come out as that's actually okay, I still feel like overall this whole thing is just a mess. My only hope between this and what's going on with Fantastic Four, and because of the fact that the Secret Wars, the most recent Secret Wars from the comics, is about smushing a bunch of realities together to create a new reality, is that this whole thing is just going to last through the Doomsday Avengers movie and then Secret Wars, and then they're gonna reboot the universe, and like it's gonna be like new people playing these characters, and so that way, because like the Fantastic Four, they're not even doing like an origin or anything. It's gonna be like, no, they've been the Fantastic Four for a while and everything, and so I feel like they're doing this so that they can just sort of like get some of these actors like in here doing these parts, and then they're gonna like give us, because I want a legitimate version of Doom, the Doom that went to college with Reed Richards, that all of that stuff. There's a huge amount of material to mine there, the whole thing about his mother and like the issues like where she's trapped by Mephisto, which would be like a great way to connect Doom with Doctor Strange and all that. I want real Doom. I don't want a Tony Stark who is Doom.
Right. And I want the authoritarian dictator from Latveria.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Right. So hopefully this is just a stunt for Secret Wars, and then it'll all just wash over and we'll get a different Doom later. But to me, like, the fact that there's been comic storylines where like there was a point where Doom became the new Iron Man, and so there's been sort of like a play between the two of them. I heard that there was like an alternate reality at one point where they literally switched minds, but again, it's like, okay, you can use the multiverse to justify everything, but again, it comes back to, why is this a good story for us with the characters and universe we've connected with? And that's what I don't, that's where I feel like they're going to have a hard time selling that to me.
I kind of think that you're onto something, though, with the whole, they're using it as a premise to reboot everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's what Secret Wars is definitely about. For sure.
Right. And that's why, like, everybody's like, why isn't there like a true X-Men? Obviously they had Deadpool, but why isn't there a true X-Men movie? It's like, it's going to be after Secret Wars. They're going to lay out a whole new lineup after Secret Wars, and it's going to include X-Men and other stuff. So, anyway.
It'll give them the ability to pick and choose for who they want from whatever film series, or recast who they want, and they'll be able to play with it as they want to. So,
yep. All right, so we lost Ryan along the way.
Let's pick him up somewhere. We'll circle back.
We'll pick him up. He did message me to say that his Wi-Fi went out, so hopefully he can either connect directly or something. All right, but yeah, so that was a good 5-minute controversy. We aired some viewpoints there, and now we're going to talk about Star Trek Discovery. But first, we're going to pause for a promo from another fine podcast.
All right, monkeying around, start talking.
Mr. Bobalina, Mr. Bob Bobalina,
About your podcast.
We talk about an Emmy-winning comedy series.
We talk about a band who outsold the Beatles and the Stones in 1967.
Still sticking to that story, huh? Well, if you know what's good for you, you'll change your tune.
We talk about a groundbreaking multimedia project
That inspired generations of artists and fans.
All right, throw the book at them.
This book is overdue.
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
And we're back. And like we said at the top of the show, we were talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 5, the final season. So before we start talking about this season, though, Steven, since this is your first time joining us to talk about Star Trek Discovery, why don't you give your sort of just overall thoughts on it as a series?
On Discovery. It's so, this is my first time. Discovery, I came into Discovery probably a little late from its streaming. And I think I came in a little, maybe like with a little bit of a sideways view toward it. I wasn't sure about the setup, and I wasn't sure. I was a little dubious on Discovery until I watched it. And I was taken in really from about the first couple of episodes. I really liked the cast. I liked a lot of the characters. I liked some of the bold choices that they made, not having the captain be the central character, and having the captain having the central character have sort of a dubious origin. It was all kind of interesting and unique for Star Trek. So it brought me in pretty much right away. I was a big Deep Space Nine fan, so I like the Star Trek that doesn't fit the traditional Star Trek mode. And as the show went on, I became much more, even more enamored with it. It's got some of the best acting in any of the Star Trek shows, and I don't say that lightly because a lot of these shows, I'm impressed with the level of actors that they get. But my gosh, I spent year after year going, this is the year that Sonequa Martin Green and Mary Wiseman, thank you. It's going to come out of my top of my head. Mary Wiseman need to get an Emmy Award nomination for this show because they're just doing phenomenal work. And I was disappointed every year, but they're just so good. And the guest stars that they would bring in and the recurring characters they would bring in, I was just blown away by it. I liked how it pushed the boundaries of the expectations of Star Trek. I remember distinctly at one point, I don't remember at what point, I was watching an episode and saw a scene, and it was a typical bridge scene, and I'm looking around and I'm going, there is not a straight white male on this bridge. And I was kind of cool with that. I thought that was really good. And what was great about it was they didn't even make a point of it. They didn't say anything about it. I as a viewer happened to notice, and I just thought that was really good, and that was very interesting. I was really glad that they took the show from the prequel to the in the future Star Trek. I have a thing about prequels. Strange New Worlds I'm enjoying, but my thing with prequels is always like you've already from the start written yourself into a box and you're stuck with having to try and make things fit. Whereas what they did with the time jump was they allowed themselves the freedom to tell new and more interesting stories. And so I was actually really glad that they did that. I thought it came at about the right time. I think Discovery has a great legacy to leave Star Trek in general. It's given us a lot of great characters. It's given us some new shows, Strange New Worlds being one of them. And, I think it's got a lot to hold its head up very high. So I'm a huge Discovery fan.
All right. Well, very cool. Yeah. So Stephanie.
Yo.
So this season, kind of had the overarching plot line of the quest for the progenitors' legacy and their technology and everything. So how do you feel about that storyline? Like, do you feel like it worked really well? Did you like it? Like what do you think about the whole quest aspect of it?
Well, I do like Discovery. So, Stephen, don't take this the wrong way. I do enjoy it, and I do think it'll be looked at much more fondly in the future than people in the community tend to right now. It gets a lot of undeserved hate, I think. However, if you go back and listen to any of our podcasts about Discovery, I'm almost always complaining that they had great ideas and then the writers just fell flat at the last minute. Like, I firmly thought that it should have been in the future to begin with, and I thought for sure season 1 was ending with them going into the future, and I was really disappointed that they were just crashing into the Enterprise rather than the future. But I mean, it did bring us Strange New Worlds, and I absolutely love Strange New Worlds. And I felt like that was kind of the same thing with season 5. However, because I had already reined myself into thinking they're going to have some interesting plot, I'm going to enjoy it, and then the final twist is going to come, and I'm going to be like, really? That's what you did? And I still had that reaction, but I had set the bar so low for myself that I was pleasantly surprised with how it turned out. And I know that sounds like a really harsh criticism, but I did enjoy the show. I do think it introduced a lot of great elements to the Star Trek franchise. And it did lead us to having like this whole new wave of Star Trek content that has, I think, adapted with the times while staying true to Trek. There are quite a few times, though, I think I've even said this on previous Discovery podcasts, where I felt like Discovery was a great sci-fi, but not as great of a Star Trek. They just took themselves a little too seriously at times. Which is why I was so happy when we had Grudge, because that was like such a non-serious character. I mean, she's a queen. She's a giant cat. And I'm glad that she was still brought up in the finale. So we know that she's around still, but like she didn't make an appearance since I think the season 3, when we first got into the future.
I think she might have been in season 4.
Was she? I don't remember. Yeah, so that's basically it. I mean, I went in with lower expectations, just because that tended to be how all of the burn, really, the logic behind the burn is really...
I wanted to say, but Stephanie, the litmus now is Magic Helpians. So we didn't go to Magic Helpians this season, so no. we're doing okay.
Yeah, that was an improvement there. That was that revelation was just what like really set me with expectations.
Season 3 was the season that got me the most excited for like almost the whole way through. I was like, oh my God, everything they're doing is so brilliant, so good, so good. And then it's like, and I thought for sure, okay, they're going to tie the burn back to something to do with them going into the future, or either the AI program they were fighting in season 2 or something, so that narratively there'll be some sort of link. And it's just like, no, there's this magic Kelpian on this planet.
Yep.
Dilithium blow up. That makes sense. And it's just like, okay, like...
And yeah, I kind of feel like that was the issue with this season 2, especially when we finally meet a progenitor and, oh yeah, we didn't make this. We don't know who the first maker was or how many times this whole thing was reset. I was just like, oh, there you go. Once again, you had a fantastic premise set up, and then you just fell at the last moment. You tripped and you lost your momentum. And, well, at least I was finally prepared for it when I went into it. So I wasn't completely disappointed. And coming in here to this podcast like, oh, it was doing so great, and then just what the hell?
I feel like new Star Trek keeps doing this, and it's not just Discovery's fault, but they'll keep pulling from some thread from the older, like the next gen through Voyager time frame. And, like, because it was the same way with like the Changelings and Picard season 3, where it was like, oh, this is really exciting, this is interesting, and then it's just like, they're really not all that important. It's really about the Borg. And it's just kind of like, what? No, like that was the more interesting thing you were developing. And it was just kind of like, it's not. Like, don't worry about that. That was just to get you excited. Like,
that was definitely a problem with Picard as well. Yeah, and then the last episode, I think they just it suffered the same thing that Star Trek: The Motion Picture suffers with. There were scenes that just dragged out way too long for absolutely no reason. That whole epilogue that took up like an entire half an hour could have been a 5-minute sequence, and I think it would have been more impactful had they sped it up a little.
To the epilogue later. Yeah. I want to throw that. But you're just talking about the quest storyline. Like the thing for me is first I was kind of like, okay, this seems a little cheesy, right? Because like this technology, we were like, oh, it's deemed too much for us. So we are going to set this series of, like, if you're a good puzzle solver, you're obviously going to be good with this technology. It's basically like the mindset. And I was like, okay, but that's the convention of any kind of these quest search kind of story. Plenty of movies, plenty of TV shows have done this sort of thing. National Treasure is a great example of a movie that does this thing of, eventually the right person will come along who can solve these puzzles, and they're the ones that are meant to have whatever the prize is at the end. So it's like, okay, I understand the convention of this. It just seems a little weird in this case that that's what they decided to do, but okay, I'll go with it. But yeah, then when they get to the end, I was really hoping, because like, the usual way of dealing with this sort of thing is like, this technology is too powerful. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands, so we have to destroy it. And I was like, surely they won't do the tropish thing with this. Like in some way, since theoretically, whoever goes through this whole process is the one who's meant to have it, they're going to do something with Burnham's character where she and actually figure out some way to use this or protect it in some way or whatever, because she's the worthy one. And instead it's like, we get to the end and Burnham's decision is, let's destroy it. And it's like, why didn't the scientists just do that like 1,000 years? Like, it was just like, it felt so frustrating because it was like, this whole journey was pointless. Because if that's what the end game was, the scientists should have just had the courage to do it themselves back in the day. Like, this should have had some sort of, there should have been something that they did with it that, justified the search.
Or they could have written that into the story somewhere where the scientists didn't have the courage, and now they have to find it to do what the scientists couldn't do. There's ways to do that. I think, and that's one of the problems with anytime there's the MacGuffin quest, right? Is the payoff is, usually it's the quest that's the most fun. It's the payoff at the end is, and I think there's this, it seems like the storytelling in television now is there's this pressure to have an arc. We have to have an arc. Let's get an arc, and then they come up with a MacGuffin quest, and okay, it's basically key to time, but still it's, but okay, so you're plotting along the episodes, but you don't have an idea of where you're going at the beginning of it, right? Like they don't have it resolved. It's almost like they're writing going, we'll figure it out as we go. And there's a nature of that in television. And there's a nature that's television, that we get that. But if you're going to tell, that's the problem with we have to have an arc. You don't have to have an arc. Strange New Worlds doesn't have arcs. And it works really well. I think if you have an arc, tell your arc. But you should be able to tell a season's worth of stories if you don't have an arc. Just tell us good stories.
You can be episodic while still remembering what happened in past episodes.
Right.
It doesn't be one consistent adventure.
Right. I think it's the arc pressure, I think, that is really just, it's bogging down a lot of these series. And season 5, there were other problems, COVID was a problem. The whole, cancellation thing was a problem. I'm sure we're going to get there. But but there were these issues that the writers and the creative team didn't know going in, or had to
Actually,
deal
they
with along
filmed
the
everything
way.
but the epilogue without knowing that it was canceled.
Oh
But
yeah,
they
right,
thought it was going
exactly.
to be renewed for another season.
Exactly. But there's these and I know they were delayed in filming because of COVID and things like that. So because I think they'd originally wanted to film like right at the end of season 4. They wanted to just go right into season 5. And maybe that's too much of a pressure. I don't know. But yeah, don't feel like you have to do an arc every year.
Mm-hmm.
My plea to the writer's room is don't feel like you have an arc. If you don't have an arc, it's okay. Just tell good stories.
Yeah, well,
Just
certainly have the whole arc planned out if you're going to do an arc.
If you're going
so
to have
that
an arc, have
there's
an
payoff.
It's almost like planes, trains, and automobiles, right? Have a point.
Yeah, because like to me, like the like they could have even. I still would have felt like it was annoying because it's the common trope, but at least if there had been something like the Breen are already there and they're about to like take control of it, and so that's why they decide to destroy it. That would be at least a way to just. But like the Breen weren't
Right.
anywhere. Like they were just in a ship like over there, and even if they had gotten it based on the way that like it worked, it didn't seem like the Breen were ever going to be able to work it. Like they weren't going to be able to like solve the puzzle and get the thing and all of that because they didn't know any of the information they needed to know to do it. And so it's kind of like there wasn't like the immediate need to destroy this thing because it's like, oh no, like bad stuff's about to happen. So I was so frustrated with that because it didn't feel like there was the need for it, and it felt like the journey was pointless because that was the
I mean, the Mull and Locke thing was also pointless. Like they really dropped the ball on that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been way more impactful if because the progenitor said that, yeah, we can bring back life, but it's just bringing back the body. It's not bringing back the soul, basically. And I thought it would have been kind of an interesting way to do it where we could have ended up creating unity between the Breen and the Federation here if they had actually brought back Locke. Maul died in that process, but he had no memories, and Burnham's like, you're the scion, you're the one who's meant to lead the Breen. We just saved you. Work out some negotiations here. And nope, they just made that entire thing just... It wasn't even a love story between them. She was like a teenage girl obsessed with her first love. And like, I'll buy that he loved her, but she was just obsessive. And yeah,
it was all just so that like Book could have like, I've helped this person who is connected to my mentor, like and it was like that was the payoff for that, is like, oh, I'll help her find like a better life or whatever, like, and it's like
all that horrible stuff, and she's going to work for presumably Section 31.
Right. But yeah, and she doesn't need a redemption arc.
No.
It's probably better if she doesn't. Maybe she becomes like a Sayla for Next Generation. For Discovery. Like she is an evil person. That's okay. People can be evil people.
Yeah. Yeah, I was disappointed by the Breen also in this, which again, it's like, oh wow, the Breen, they're like, again, a DS9 cut, deep cut, like, okay, like, yeah, let's do this. And it's just like, and part of the problem is DS9 built up the mystique of the Breen too much. But like when it turns out like the Breen just look like normal humanoids and they're just a normal empire and all that kind of stuff, where I was like, it just feels disappointing because it was built up so much in DS9 where they're like, the rumor is that their world is like a frozen world, but actually it's quite warm. What's about that? Why don't they let anyone see their faces? Like there's all these questions that they had. It was just like, oh, like it's just like a racial purity thing. They don't let outsiders see their faces. Okay, that's like, I mean, that's an answer, but it's like that is like the least interesting answer you could have come up with for why like they're always covered head to toe, and we still don't know why there's this mystique around, they like cold environments, but really their planet is warm or what. Like again, there's all this stuff where it's like they could have played with some of this, made the Breen really interesting, but instead it's just like, we need an evil empire for them to fight in this storyline, and who haven't we used in a while? Breen.
Yeah, and as reading about like the producers or the writers when they were creating the Breen in Deep Space Nine, their intention was that they would never be shown. So they would always be this like big mysterious thing that would be never be shown. And I like that idea. And that's why you can just throw stuff at the wall, because you never have to answer it. But maybe it's too big a breadcrumb to leave that somebody's not going to want to pick it up. And one of my complaints in sort of modern storytelling is now a lot of writers, it seems like, can't throw a question out without answering it, can't throw an open end out without making a connection. Everything has to connect. We have to draw all the lines for you. We have to connect all the dots for you. We have to answer all the open questions. And as an audience member, I keep thinking, no, you don't. That's fans have been doing that for years. That's where most of the great fan fiction has come from, is fans just closing those connections themselves. And that's where great discussions come from in conventions. And I love when they leave things open for people. And it just seems like that's being closed off from it. It's being taken from us as fans. And I felt like this use of the Breen was, in a sense, taking that away from the fans and taking that speculation away from us, because they're going to answer everything. And of course, those answers are never going to be as satisfying as where our imaginations are going to take us.
Yep. I completely agree with all of that. And yeah, I also feel like if they used the Breen, we shouldn't have seen them.
Right.
But that would have ruined, they wanted this to be like some kind of like a romance thing. But it was like, I don't want to see them. And I want them to be something more interesting than just an empire. Like some way their society is different or unusual or whatever. Like, do something with them that is interesting. But yeah, I feel like we have all these things, and a lot of times with this new media based on old franchises, I find this happens a lot too, where they just want to excite people by throwing in references. When they don't have a great reason for using those references. But it's just like, oh, we know a bunch of people who watch DS9 will be like, Breen, and get really excited if we just, have Breen. So, that's why they do it, rather than we have a good use for the Breen. And so that's why we're using them.
Which is why Ryan Reynolds makes Deadpool movies, to make fun of that very thing.
I mean, definitely.
Because he does. And he's right. He's right. If you don't have a thing to do with the Breen, then you don't have to bring them in just to draw fans in. Draw fans in with good stories and good acting. It's Star Trek. We'll come watch.
Well, even like that, there was that one android character from towards the beginning of the season where they're like, he's a Soong model android. It's just like, there's no reason for that. It's just like, they just wanted to throw that out there to get people excited.
I got all excited thinking there was going to be a reason behind that. Like, oh, cool. That's kind of building upon what they did in Picard. Oh, wait, no, they're not. Okay.
And then it gets to be a bit Star Wars-ish too, where it's like, is Dr. Soong the only one who built androids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope
Surely
in like
somebody else.
Yeah, I'd hope in 800 years somebody else
right
figured out how to do it.
Even if it's illegal, people have basements, right? People are working on this stuff.
Yeah. All right. So another thing that this season brought us was we have our new first officer character, Raynor. And so how do you guys feel about him as a character? Let's start with you on this one, Steven. What do you feel about him and his addition to the cast?
I really didn't like him at first. I just didn't feel like it was a good choice. It didn't mix well. And as the season went on, and they tried to find create some softening points for him and some points of identification. I'm not going to say those never hit, because some of them did hit okay, but it still felt a little forced. I just felt like the character felt forced. I didn't feel like it was a good addition, and I like the actor, but it wasn't a good addition character-wise to the story, and I don't think it really gave us much. They didn't really give us much reason of he didn't challenge people in new ways. He was just basically there to stir the pot, and that just wasn't interesting enough. I wish they had maybe figured out another way to use him in a better way. It didn't work well for me.
Stephanie?
Well, I kind of thought that he was an answer to Captain Shaw, because he had a sudden burst of popularity. And I also found myself when Discovery was coming to an end, being like, "What is with me suddenly?" And like enjoying these grumpy ass jerks that are in Star Treks, because like it started, it seems, when I first realized, I really like McCoy more than I remembered liking McCoy. And then I started out.
You're getting older, Stephanie.
Apparently, Tim's grumpy ass is rubbing off on my taste. Then. But yeah, he had the same type of reaction to me as Shaw did in Picard, where it started out, I really didn't like him, but by the end, like the line that really made me realize that I had grown fond of his character was when Tilly was telling him to relax, you're making everyone nervous. And he just looks at her and he's like, look, I chose you because I've come to like you. But if you keep up with this lovey-dovey bullshit, I'm not going to anymore. And I thought that was kind of a fun poke at a lot of the criticism too that Discovery gets, because that was one debate Tim and I were having after we finished watching it. Was he still was like, it's Star Trek feelings, and I'm like, no, there is more to it, and I really appreciate that they're finally using like actual emotional reasoning behind stuff. But yeah, I thought that line right there was a perfect comeback at the people who tend to say stuff like that. And yeah, he really does seem to me, though, like he was designed to be exactly what Shaw was, where you don't like him at first. He's just a hard ass there to be a hard ass. But by the end, he is working with the team in his own curmudgeony way as just a guy from Chicago. But in this case, it was... I don't remember what planet they said he was, because if I recall correctly, it was
Yeah, it was not one I was familiar with.
Yeah.
That was just apparently subjugated by the Breen at one point. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was a character that had a lot of rough edges and clashed with the crew, but I liked the way he clashed with the crew. And I definitely think that he could have been developed into a much more rememberable character for the whole show. Yeah, I'm kind of running off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
No. But I get where you're going with that, and like I kind of feel like there are some things. So I don't agree with the people who really hate on Discovery, but I do think I like that Discovery has actually talked about mental health and has made that part of like in a way that's a lot more mature and nuanced than we go to counseling sessions with Counselor Troy and she sits there in her bunny suit and tells us it's okay to have feelings and then we go off and we're cured, which was how Star Trek The Next Generation dealt with mental health. It was still a step forward, but it wasn't, much of one, whereas in this... in this show, they try to really talk about mental health and, in more detail and more nuance and whatever. My main issue is when it's like, we're in the middle of a tense situation on the bridge. It isn't time for affirmations. And,
not even on the bridge. Hey, we're infiltrating the Breen dreadnought right now. Let's have a discussion about our relationship and if we can salvage it.
Right, I know. So it's like I do think Discovery has too much discussion of feelings and it goes a little too far. And the sad thing is I feel like Rayner is kind of like it's an overcorrection how they presented him, because he's too hard and he's too like inflexible and he's too like, I hate all of this. And it's like, okay, get that you're poking fun a little bit at the criticisms, but at the same time, within the context of this show, it's too much. Now, if they had handled Starfleet better, I feel like this goes to like the show as a whole. Because we talked, back when we talked about season 3 about how like the whole setup was like, Federation had fallen apart. Starfleet's just like a few ships, like the Federation's almost nothing anymore. And then by season 4, like the Federation's all back together again and everybody's happy. And I was like, what in the
Wait,
world?
what?
Like, there was so many interesting stories you could have gone by, like the sort of the slow attempt at the Federation to like sort of justify its existence to all the worlds where, they had fallen away from the Federation because it wasn't able to, satisfy the needs it was supposed to. They could have even said there was some corrupt. Like, I was hoping we were going to see like some of like the distrust was due to the fact that it's, there was some actual corruption in the Federation too, and so like show like how. And I thought like the idea of having a ship from the past when the Federation was more like the ideal version could have then, you could have utilized that as this is the reason why this ship is still valid, even though like all the tech is antiquated and everything, is because this crew has like a sense of the Federation in a way that like has sort of been lost as people became jaded and everything.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any of that. And Rayner almost seems like a throwback to that idea, though, of just like there are people who are like, yeah, they might have been with Starfleet, but they were super jaded and like we're just like, this is like a job that I do, and I do things my own way, and I don't care about rules and regulations and stuff. And again, it would have been great to explore that in sort of a broader context, but just as like sort of like a throw in where it's just like, here's this one guy. Because that's what they made it feel like. It's just this one guy who's bucking the system and isn't with the program. When I'm like, really, this should be like a huge amount of the sentiment within all the people they're trying to pull into like the Starfleet that they're trying to like, create this sort of broader Starfleet now and repopulate it and everything. And so again, like I wish if they were going to do that sort of thing, they had made it like a bigger part of like the story than just like here's one guy sort of representing this point of view. So I kind of mixed feelings about him.
Yeah.
It may not have been intended to come across so gruffly, though, if it was in fact the fact that they filmed almost all of this not realizing it was going to be the final season. They could have intended to develop that a little bit more.
Yeah. I feel like, and I think you're right, Nathan, because I think it would, and I'm going to be the guy that I usually complain about, but had they not done the MacGuffin quest and had they really focused on a rebuilding of the Federation, which could have been really, really interesting, because at the point where it's like when you've lost Vulcan, that's something is really, really core at the core is changed here, and I'd love to really explore that. That would be really interesting.
Well, they lost Earth too. Like Earth wasn't part of the Federation when they first came. There's like all these sort of core worlds were like part, yeah.
Like that's you've taken away your center of gravity, and I think that's a really interesting thing to kind of explore. And I would love to have seen that.
I think much better season 5 and a much better finale.
Oh yeah, for sure. I and that's why I'm going to be the guy, because I usually like don't complain about the thing you didn't get, talk about the thing you did get. But I really would have liked to have seen that, because they really did kind of set that up and then just abandon it. But the other thing with and I just blanked his name, the guy we're talking about. Thank you, Rayner. Thank you. Is that it seemed clear to me when I was watching this that obviously there was some scheduling conflict with Doug Jones.
Yeah.
And so Rayner was written to be the anti-Saru. And it just came off as the anti-Saru. And I'm like, I would have loved for the things like his past with the Breen to be a lot more organic into the story than it felt forced, because it felt like he was being the anti-Saru. And that's how it came off to me. And that's why the character just didn't work well for me.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Saru in this too, and so that's a great segue, Stephen, because I've got to say, as much as I love Saru, and I do, in fact, Doug Jones also liked my 42 cast posting of episodes on Star Trek Discovery, so Doug Jones, you are okay in my book. But
high accolades indeed.
Right, exactly.
Love Doug Jones.
It is very rare for a celebrity to like one of my posts, so I will always be like, yeah, okay. But
I think they haven't done enough of it, and they should do more.
And I really like Tarina, as a character, and I like them to get like last season. I was all about like them as a couple. I was like, oh, I would have never seen this coming, and this is so cute and everything. But it's like, man, did they make that as boring as possible this season?
Yeah.
I thought there's gonna be some like big payoff to this, but it's like Saru like goes and tries to tell off the Breen, and it's just like, I don't know. That didn't work for me as the whole like this is why we had Saru off by himself thing. And like you, Steven, I suspected, was there some issue where they couldn't get him filming with everybody else, so they had to film all his stuff like, at some other time, and so they had to have scenes that didn't include anybody else
Yeah.
because it just felt like it was kind of pointless. And like I say, like even the chemistry between the two of them didn't really like feel. And I thought like, oh, this political thing on Vulcan, that's gonna like be like a big deal, and no, it really wasn't. It was just like a little like blip to fill some time.
Yeah, and Saru as a character, like there was ample opportunity to make that character as boring as possible, and Doug Jones just did yeoman's work in building. He was so interesting to watch, and I loved what he was doing with that character. And I felt missing something in this season because he wasn't there to really bring us. Even when he was on screen, he wasn't given anything to really work with. And I would have loved to see what I've seen from past seasons of what he does. He's built this really interesting, complex character, and a really thoughtful, contemplative character. And I really would have liked to have seen him weighing in on some of the things that they're dealing with. And I felt like I missed that.
I will tell you this much: when we got to the line where he's volunteering to go intercept that Breen vessel, and the president's like, well, this could be a suicide mission. I was like, so help me, if they kill Saru, this show has
Right.
lost any praise that I have given it over the years.
Right.
Saru makes the ultimate sacrifice. Why have I been watching this show?
I would have been so furious at that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like Doug Jones, like is an actor that I never have even heard of before Star Trek Discovery, but he's done so many things. It's just he's been under so much makeup that you never knew that, oh, it's this one really tall, really lanky guy, and they pick him to play monsters and things usually because because he has an unusual body shape. But I love what he's done with Saru. Like,
his Silver Surfer is the best thing of the previous Fantastic Four movies ever. His Silver Surfer is really good. He's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and yeah, like the physical performance as Saru, like the way he sways when he walks and all of that, like thinking again about this character is sort of like an aquatic character, and so like the movement should be like sort of like swaying wave like, ocean current kind of like stuff. And like I've just been so impressed by like everything that he's done. So yeah, I was disappointed that he had such a small role this season, and I'm glad that they did try to include him rather than just writing him out. But at the same time, I felt like with just a little more thought, they could have had what he was doing have a little more impact, give him a little more meat, to do. Like the political stuff on Vulcan, I was like, that could have given him some real meat, but it was like, no, that was just there to like take some time because we're gonna dovetail him back into the Breen storyline later. But like, I think that would have been like a better thing to pursue. And I don't know at what point they knew they were only getting 10 episodes. So maybe that's just an issue of they originally thought they were going to get 13 and then it was like down to 10. I don't know that. They might have always known they were getting 10, but I do wish they had a little more space and had been able to like give him some more like hard hitting like kind of stuff to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of the pacing of the season that was sort of forced upon them by circumstances and not what they probably set out to do. And you could kind of feel it watching the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, the pacing this season was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was something Tim and I both wholeheartedly agreed on afterwards, was that the pacing this season was probably some of the worst pacing that Discovery has had.
Yeah, you could see, and I think it probably was a pandemic affected season, but I think, and it's hit a lot of shows, but you can definitely feel it.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, this is the third season that they made under the pandemic, so I feel like they should have at least figured this all out by now. Whereas, like it wasn't like it was like this is the first season where they were filming under the pandemic conditions. So
yeah,
I'm not sure I can give them a pass for that.
I'm not going to give them a pass. I'm just saying I think that's what hit them. Should they have been more prepared for it? Yeah, probably, but they weren't, and you can tell.
All right, so at the end of last season, I thought for sure they wrote Book out. You know,
Mhm.
like that's why I called the episode Bookends, because it was like, okay, Book did bad, he's going to get the consequences, they wrote him out. And so this season we had Book return, and the season had a lot about his relationship with Michael. How do you guys feel about the Book return? Do you feel like that was necessary? Do you feel like the time would have been better spent like developing other things? Let's start with you on this one, Stephanie.
I mean, yeah, kind of 50-50 on it. I do like Book as a character. And they did at least give him a hefty task to redeem himself for what he had done. Unlike Mal, who's just being pardoned because she's an angsty teenager or something. But at the same time, it was some of his involvement was the worst parts of Michael. So it's kind of a mixed blessing there, because I did like what they did with the epilogue, where we see that they basically have a new what's the name of the planet? I keep wanting to say Jaquan, but I think that's Jakar.
Right. I don't remember the name of this planet. I know it was destroyed last season, but it's the best I've got.
But I did kind of like that he was presented that root from the tree, and that had already been established as a very important cultural part of his culture. That just sounded really repetitive. But like, I thought it allowed for about the best part of the epilogue, in my opinion, was just seeing how they had basically planted that root, the tree had sprouted, and we saw all these creatures around that were established earlier on with his character as endangered, rescued species.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess they brought him back to what I really liked about Book, but I still really missed my queen, and I wish she would have made an appearance. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of a mixed emotion on his redemption. I'm glad it wasn't an easy redemption, but I don't know that it was necessarily needed, because it did take away some of Michael's, while at the same time growing her, also took her a few steps back at times too. Like the whole let's discuss our relationship on the Breen vessel.
Yeah. All right, how do you feel about it, Steven?
I'm not going to disagree a lot, but I'm going to reach a little bit into my Star Wars references. That I think Book is a more interesting character when he's more roguish Han Solo from A New Hope and less Han Solo from Return of the Jedi. I think he's a more interesting. He's kind of the wild card, and he works best when he's the wild card. And once you sort of domesticate him, you don't give him a lot of room to maneuver as a character. You don't give him a lot of places to go, and you make the character a lot less interesting. And I felt like that's kind of where the box they were putting him in this season is they were not giving happy endings are good because they're endings, because there's not a lot of places to go from there. And they were giving him a happy ending maybe a little too early. And then maybe you could see like well, what do we do with him now? And so they pull in a little like maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi thing of, for Return of the Jedi, and a little bit of, I'm going to be the great mentor to the, no. I want this guy to be, kind of a pirate. I want this guy to be a little bit on the, he can be a gray character, and he can certainly have some edges of being on the good side. But I want to guess a little bit. That's what makes Book really interesting. And that's why his cat grounds him so much, right? Because he's the wild card. The cat is like the thing that grounds him a little bit. And when he's domesticated, what does he need the cat? What does he need? Why does he need these things around him? And so that I just didn't feel like he was used that well because it was too. They had to domesticate him too early.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah, my thoughts on this are, you know, one of the things that I was told when I was very young was like the best stuff is the stuff that shows and not tells.
Mm-hmm.
All of Book's character development was off screen. It was like, oh yeah, I already
Exactly.
redeemed myself. I'm good now. And he's like,
Yeah.
basically when he comes back, that's what we get. So it's like, oh, all my development already happened, guys. Like here I am to join the crew again.
I forgot about that. I thought the whole assisting, well, I was remembering that the whole assisting with this mission was part of his redemption. But no, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
It did all happen off screen.
Right. So it's like, again, I think to Steven's point, if they had him come in as he's still kind of shady, he's still like maybe he's a little like upset about like what's happened with, I mean, I know that he's sort of like sort of like was resigned to it at the end of the last season, but maybe he's become bitter because of all the things that he's had to do, and maybe, you know, like all this. And so like I don't know, in some way though there should have been some development still for him to have, rather than just like I got to get back together with Michael. You know, like that would seem to be like the only development left was their relationship development. And it's like, to me, that's like, that didn't feel right because I just saw him, you know, being willing to commit genocide. You know, like the last thing I saw him doing was being okay with committing genocide. So, you know, it just didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we had a redemption because I didn't see the redemption, and I didn't feel like he should be getting back together with Burnham. I was actually a little worried that at one point, because you know how Hollywood loves to have two characters who are antagonistic to each other, like ending up in a relationship. I was worried they're going to put Michael and Rayner together in a relationship in the beginning of this season.
No.
I'm glad we did not go there.
No,
but
thank you. Yeah. No, but and you're right, because I feel like not only is there the books happy whatever conversion is just one thing, but it shorts his character, but it also shorts Michael's, because Michael is still coming to terms with who she is. She's still learning to accept herself, you know, her faults and her dark areas and her leadership capabilities. You know, you could see, and it's one of the brilliant things about her performance is she really encapsulates all of that in her character, and she still is coming to grips with accepting herself. And so the whole happy relationship thing with Book doesn't ring true, because I'm still waiting for Michael to really accept who she is before she can get into a relationship with anybody, including Book.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where I felt like it was just too much and they hit us too hard over that. Like in the beginning, it was okay in the beginning because it was more just like, oh, this is awkward. Like I'm working with my ex and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, if they leave it there, it's fine. But they went to, no, they got to be back in a relationship by the end of the season. I was like, I don't know that we needed to force that. And since they were doing the epilogue anyway, I mean, I guess when they were making this, they didn't know they were going to be doing the epilogue, because I was like, in the epilogue, it's kind of like, well, they're together. So you could always just say, well, it happened, you know, that, you know, happened some point in between. But yeah, it just,
I was thinking, you know, even at the end where they were like, you know, coming together, it would have been nice. I was actually kind of hoping for, you know, we had this relationship, we're going to finally acknowledge we had this, and now it's gone, and we're two different people, and we're moving on. And
that was my preferred also, is that I didn't feel like they needed to get back together at all.
Right.
Like, yeah. And so anyway, I just, again, it's the Hollywood. We want to have everybody together with a happy ending, and I don't feel like, you know, people form multiple relationships over the course of their life, and so sometimes the two people you think are gonna be like it don't end up being it, and they end up with other people. Like, you know, it's just how it is. So yeah.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, I think I cut you off.
Oh, I was just saying, I think the fact that I had such a hiatus myself in watching between the first half of it and then finishing it up, I did completely misremember how his redemption was being played out. And so, not to like change my viewpoint in a 2-minute gap here, but yeah, now that recalled that it wasn't that all of his redemption did happen off screen. I had completely managed to forget about that. So yeah, I mean, I still am kind of mixed on his whole involvement here, but yeah, that could have been something played out a lot better. And
yeah, it's another reminder to me of what I liked about Discovery, though, is that this really seemed like, and for most of the seasons, a show that really rested on the talents of the actors who brought this to the screen. And I think some of these writing character choices that didn't work as well, I was able to ride through the season mostly on the strength of the actors who were making this happen, because they had just phenomenal cast. I cannot rave about this cast enough. Like, I'm not lying when I said they've been robbed by not being recognized by the Emmys.
Yeah, another thing though that, like, it's not bad because of the fact that, you know, the character is an important character, but at the same time, it annoys me when they feel like they're writing somebody out, is Tilly, who was written out in the 4th season, only to be brought back at the beginning of this season. Like, if you're gonna write somebody out, write them out. Like, don't do this thing where it's like, oh, now we have to contrive a reason at the beginning of the season why Tilly, who's now at Starfleet Academy, is with Discovery. And it's just like, guys, like just leave her on the ship then. Like, if that's what you wanted, like, I don't know if there was a contract negotiation coming up or something and they were gonna, like, like, okay, well, if you don't agree to the amount that we say, like, we're cutting you and that's why we're writing you out, or I don't know what was going on there, but like that really annoyed me, just because of the fact that, again, it just feels so weird. Like the justification for bringing Tilly along didn't make sense. And like,
I mean, wasn't Stamets like, we started this, you got to finish it? Like, okay, yeah, you're right.
Gosh darn it. Okay. And I was disappointed when they wrote her up, because I love Tilly as a character. I really, really love that character. I'm really happy that they're going to continue the character, but I really love that character. And you could, I mean, if you have a story where you can bring her back as a guest, for an episode or two, maybe that would make sense, but you don't have to shoehorn them in as they do.
End of last season, they wrote her in for the end of it.
Right, because she actually left midway through, and then they had her back at the end, right? Yeah,
and it worked much better than the way she was shoehorned in this season.
Yeah. And for those of you listening to this that don't know, she's going to be in the Starfleet Academy series, and so that's why we're saying, like,
I'm so happy.
She's going to continue.
I'm glad that she is, and also that oh gosh, I always remember their name until I want to mention it on the podcast here. The engineer.
Stamets?
Yeah, no, not Stamets.
Jet Reno, yeah.
Jet Reno, there we go.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I was really happy that they're bringing Jet back. Yes,
Jet and
Vance. Tig Notaro is a big favorite. I was so happy when Tig Notaro was added to the cast, and I'm so glad she's coming back.
Oh, okay.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, no. I knew there was a bunch of Voyager people that were going, like the Doctor is going to be.
Robert Picardo's coming back.
So that'll be interesting to see. So,
but some of my favorite characters from Discovery are going to be on there. So I'm definitely hoping that includes Saru appearing now and
then. Yeah, I mean, definitely could.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see maybe one of our characters, if they have a reason to bring them on, to see an episode where they might appear.
Starfleet Academy and his relationship with the Vulcan president, being her husband and all, it would make sense for him to have an appearance every now and then.
Sure.
So more than
love to see it.
Some of the other characters.
Right. All right. Anything else before we talk about the epilogue? Steven, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Okay.
No, I'm good. Let's go.
Stephanie, is there anything you wanted to talk about with this season before we talk about the epilogue?
No. Just I love Dr. Culber.
Yeah. I liked I liked the thing about Reno and about how she was like a bookseller at one point or whatever.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's just like the most random stuff that she's done like during her life. Like that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tig Notaro just pulls that stuff off. She's brilliant. Yeah, I love Dr. Culber. Talk about like the characters that they've killed off and brought back. That's the one I was probably happiest about.
All right, so let's talk. So much like Lord of the Rings, this was a series of endings. It's like you're like, okay, it's done, and oh, we get another ending. Okay, all right, let's see what we're doing. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry to yank this back. We got to talk about the time travel episode before we talk about the coda, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because we got to see a lot of faces from the past, and we got to, see, stuff, sort of play out over discoveries and time. Since this is the last season, it kind of felt fitting, even though they didn't know that when they made this episode, for us to explore sort of the past of the series. So, like, how did that one work? Because, sometimes like time travel and sort of like getting caught in like in reoccurring loops and things like, can be annoying or whatever. Like, how did that episode work for you? Let's go with you, Steven.
Hits and misses. This, from a narrative standpoint, it was occasionally confusing and a little bit sort of all over the place. On the other hand, I can rewatch on an endless loop Michael Burnham talking to Michael Burnham. That was a brilliant scene, and I loved that. And I loved that it felt right. It felt like the two different Michaels, and it's a lot of Sonequa Martin Green's performances in both of those characters. But she was Michael from earlier in the series and Michael from now, and you could feel the difference in the characters, and I loved watching that. I think my jaw actually hit the floor during that scene. I went it back and watched it again. So good. That's the high point. That's probably the high point of the season for me, but that's also one of the high points. That's the high point of that episode for sure. That makes the whole thing worthwhile. Like, I can go through all the mess of this narrative storytelling to just watch that scene.
All right. And Stephanie, what did you think about it?
I mean, I thought it was a pretty decent episode. Probably one of the more memorable ones of the final season. The time bug was a little silly, but Star Trek is silly.
I wasn't a fan of the MacGuffin that got us there, but
yeah. But overall, it wasn't that bad, and I did enjoy how they had the how Stamets was immune to it just because of use of the spore drive. So he's like just utterly confused by everything until he finally meets up with Michael and was it Rainer who was also traveling with her?
Yeah.
And it was nice having that flashback to seeing characters that had gone away, even if it was just because the actor had a reaction to the makeup and had to be a new character.
Yeah.
So
I gotta say, to me, the biggest missed opportunity is that we did not see Michelle Yao or Empress Giorgio, I should say, or Lorca. I was hoping beyond hope that we were going to get one of those two in that episode to have like the callback to, like, oh yeah, remember? This used to be a very different show. So yeah,
I was hoping for Lorca, but because I just figure like Michelle Yao is just too hard to get a hold of at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but unless they were filming it concurrently with the Section 31 movie, that was not going to happen.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that last segment in particular, when Michael got to interact with Michael and we saw like all the old like crew members and things, or crew members that are in different positions now and stuff like that, and we got like sort of like the nostalgia of season for a show that's only 5 seasons long, the nostalgia of season 1, and that I really, really enjoyed. And I did like the fact that like Michael, the introspection on Michael, I think has been the best thing about season 5. as far as her like sort of examining herself as a character. And that also was part of that whole process, was her literally seeing herself as she was a few years ago. And so yeah, and the performances were really good. And like you said, like it felt like this was Michael from the past. Like she was able to like go back to like that performance. And it was kind of interesting to me to see it, because I didn't realize until I saw that as the contrast how different she is now and how differently she plays the part
Yeah.
now. So I think that was really well done.
Yeah, it was such a good performance. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. If you've seen it, see it again. Go watch it again.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, why are you listening to us?
It's true.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Why are you? All right. So now let's move on. Let's talk about the ending. So we had Saru and Tarina's wedding, and then we skip forward quite a few years to the future, and we have Michael sort of riding Discovery out into the sunset. I guess they're like sort of the two endings that we got here. So
yeah,
and one was the intentional end. The wedding was where they planned on ending the season, and then the part after that was that they, once they learned they were canceled, they quickly pulled together to record something just to give it more of an ending than that wedding scene. So yeah, so how do you feel about the ending in the coda, Stephanie?
It should have been 5 minutes, not an extra hour. That was definitely the part that suffered the most of the motion picture syndrome. Like I liked seeing Michael and Book in the future, and that was cute and all. I already mentioned how I really liked that they basically reestablished his planet, at least in the sense of it becoming a sanctuary again. And that was good, and it was kind of fun seeing her son and all that. But yeah, no, it really could have been 5 minutes. And when she was sitting on the bridge again and talking with Zora, like, first of all, is this suddenly now the new progenitors technology that they're just sending it off to wait an indefinite amount of time? I mean, I know she says you're supposed to meet another vessel, but it's probably going to outdo my lifespan type thing. So there was that. And when she was having the little memories of like Saru and all of the crew laughing and joking with each other and stuff, I actually thought for a minute, wait, did Michael just die on the bridge here? That was really not clear, that she was just drifting off into daydream world versus she was going out with the ship.
Taking a Sunday drive.
Yeah. And I don't know. I honestly think it probably would have been a little bit better if it had just ended at the wedding. I have to admit that when we finished watching it, I said, okay, well, I set my bar really low, so I am pleasantly surprised in how this ended. And it was a better ending than Enterprise, but only barely. And
it's quite a bar there.
Now knowing though that whole last bit was not anticipated, it just almost pulls it closer to Enterprise's ending, where it's just like, it really, you just should have stopped earlier. It almost reminded me too of like the ending of Dexter, where the last season or the last episode just kept going, and it's like, all right, this is a great ending. Okay, now you're going a little bit far. It's getting a little weird. Okay, now you're undoing half of the series. Why aren't you stopping yet? It wasn't as bad as Dexter. Dexter is what I consider the worst ending of any show I was invested in and following. But it had a similar problem of like, there were different spots where it could have stopped and it would have been a better ending than it was, but they instead kept going. And that whole last 30 minutes seriously could have been a 5-minute clip right there. Tim actually got up and walked away after the wedding. He's like, all right, well, tell me if anything actually happens. Well, they got really cool uniforms again. So yeah, that was my favorite part of the flash forward. Seeing the new uniforms that they get like 30 years after Discovery ends.
Okay.
They
Fair.
really kind of reminded me of the movie uniforms, and I liked it.
Yeah.
Okay, Steven.
Well, for a tacked on shoehorn ending, it kind of felt like a tacked on shoehorn ending. I kind of wish that the streaming companies, the overall production, whoever it is who makes these decisions had, because the cancellation, I think, was abruptly given to the writers and the producers of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the decision was probably made earlier than was given to them. And if it wasn't made, it probably should have been, because I still feel like the reason that the show was canceled was not because of audience or because of critical reception or anything like that. I think it was because of contractual reasons. It was monetary. It was money in there. It's some of the reason why, the Disney shows change to a new show after 3 years or whatever. There's contractual reasons and there's money reasons. There's agreements with unions of what drives that. And I think that's what was going on here. And I wish they had just been honest with the Discovery showrunners to say, look, this is going to be the last season, and give them a chance to tell a full last season, rather than try and surprise them at the end. I was glad that they were able to get people back in order to tell some sort of ending, but I felt like there were a lot of characters who were lost, a lot of characters who did not, there were characters who had clips from past episodes sort of scissored in just so they could be in the last episode, because the actor wasn't available, because they didn't know. It was kind of a disservice. And there was kind of the writers had, to their credit, oh crap, we've got to tie up these characters and we've got to link this to that Short Treks episode, and we've got to, we've got all this to do in a very short period of time. And it would have been better, the audience and the show would have been better served by having that information for a full season, so that they could really ramp up and tell that story with the investment and with the gravitas that are really needed. I was glad that they did it. I was glad that they were able to do some sort of ending, but it was a shame that they had to do it in that way.
Yeah, I bring up Lord of the Rings because I often hear people who have never read the books complain about Lord of the Rings and how, like, they think it's over and then it just keeps going. It's like the movie of endings, because it's like 45 minutes of endings at the end of the movie.
That one.
I'm sorry, what, Stephanie?
But I love that one.
Right, exactly. But you also are a fan of the books.
Yes. I'm a fan of Tolkien in general.
Right. So
another time that we would start talking and Beth would just be like, okay, I guess I'll go make food or something.
Right. Yep. But yeah, so for me, all right. For me, what they gave me wasn't what I wanted for a ending for Discovery. Like, I don't know at what point they felt like Michael and Book's relationship was what this show was about, but I don't feel like that's I needed the reassurance they're still together, even in their old age, and they have kids, and life's good.
More for Saru than for her.
Right. So I'm like, I'm not sure that that's what I needed from like an ending to the show to make me feel like everything's okay. Yeah, they did tie it to that Short Treks where, Discovery is just sitting in the middle of space, and I think Zora tells the person who comes on board that she hasn't had a crew for 1,000 years or whatever. And so it's like, okay, but we still don't know what any of that is about. Like, right. It's like, again, if you were going to resolve something with an ending, it would have been like, what was that all about? Not showing us having Burnham take the ship out there. Why was the ship sitting there in the middle of nowhere? What was the purpose of that? And that's the thing.
Missed Short Trek. Sorry.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Trek.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was a short. It was like a few years ago. I thought it was going to tie into like season 3 or whatever, because like there was a short trek that released, like, I can't remember. It might have been in 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
That was about Discovery just being like completely empty. This person comes on the ship and talks with Zora, and Zora's like, "Oh, I remember having a crew, but it's been like 1,000 years since I've had one, and I have to sit here until my mission is fulfilled." Something about like she has to like just stay there until her mission is fulfilled, and and so it was like this thing where it seemed like, oh, okay, well, obviously they wouldn't make this thing unless there's some point to this, like something that they're planning on writing that's going to pay off in a season of Discovery coming up, and no, it never paid off.
Yeah.
Now I'm even more annoyed by that.
Right.
But it was because they had to do it quickly because there was no time to do it.
But the thing that actually made me mad about that ending was when we get Michael drifting off, which, like you, Stephanie, I was like, is she dead? Because of the way that they did like the glowy lights and everything, where it was like, is everybody else dead and she's now joining them? Is okay. I get that there are some problems with, casting and getting people together, especially for a last minute thing like this. But if we're going to do I'm reminiscing about my memories of this ship, it should have not just been the season 5 cast. I mean, freaking Raynor was there, but Georgiou, who matters a whole lot more to Michael, was not. And again, they couldn't get Michelle Yeoh, but couldn't you have taken some stock footage and just like given it some lighting and made it seem like Georgiou was there too? And they should have been like all the cast of this series from the beginning, including the cyborg character, who they did have an episode, in that one, the time travel episode. I forget her name. I feel bad. Yeah. But like have her in there, especially because of how this is the thing we haven't talked about, about how they so sidelined Awoshi-kun and Detmer this season also, which pissed me off, because it's like we've been complaining all this time about how they've been with their show since the beginning and they get no screen time, they get no development. They did a little bit with them season 4, and then it's like this season is just like, hey, how can we write them out? Well, we'll just bring in the ISS Enterprise and have them fly it away or something. It's just like, why? And I get that they were there at the ending scene, but like they were so sidelined throughout the season, and then like they didn't even care about the characters that weren't in this season. And to me, like, it's like, if you're doing the conclusion to the show, we should have had a brief flash of all, again, do whatever trickery you can, but I know they could have pulled an image of Lorca and just given it like the right lighting or whatever, and done a picture, an image of Georgiou, given it the right lighting, whatever, like they could have inserted them all in, like, digitally, and they just didn't take the time to do that. And so I was just kind of like, and I felt like Raynor, like we barely know Raynor. I don't have any love or affection for him like I do with the characters that we had in the show back in the day. So it's like, again, it felt weird to have him there, but not any of those other people. So
I think it's because he was there and available. And I think
well, that's
really, they had no time and they had no money, and they were like, but they got permission to do it, and so they put together as much as they could. And that's really the disservice, is they should have gotten a proper final season.
Yeah, I definitely feel like shows should know when they have the last season, or they should at least know that there is a high, like, it sounds like it was the other way around. It sounds like they thought they had season 6 in the bag.
Oh yeah,
because they said that this, like, that coda was something they had already planned, but to be at the end of season 6. And so that's why when they were canceled, they were like, well, crap, can we at least do the coda, that we already planned, and so that's why they got everybody back and shot that. But yeah.
Great. This is going to end up like Enterprise again, where eventually I'm going to find out what the next season was going to be, and I'm going to be really upset again because it would have been an awesome season.
Yeah, it's sad to see it go out like that, because it really was, I think, a really high point in the Star Trek universe of shows. I don't, and I don't know what the future is. I don't know if there'll ever be a Discovery movie. I doubt it, but it's a shame, because there's some really good actors and some really good characters that I would really like to see again.
Well, at least, I mean, obviously everything is up in the air with Paramount with this new acquisition and everything, and who knows how the whole Star Trek franchise is going to be handled, a year, even a year down the road, we have no
Exactly.
idea what they're gonna do, or what cost cutting, or maybe they'll do the opposite and go all in and be like, hey, Star Trek is a property we can invest in, and let's like ramp up and do more Star Trek stuff. Like, we have no idea what they're gonna do with Star Trek, moving forward. But I hope the fact that they have this sort of streaming way of releasing like movies that aren't like going to be like a huge blockbuster, but you can do like what they're doing with Section 31, of like a movie that's got a bigger budget than like a TV show, but doesn't necessarily get like, $200 million to be like the summer blockbuster, and that they could do some movies that are meant to be on Paramount Plus. And even that would be good to do like specials or movies or whatever you want to call it that continues like storylines with characters and things. And so
I would hope
they
that's
do
more
that.
the future than Prodigy, which is kind of leads towards selling it off for parts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of discussion. Well, here's the thing that I learned recently that annoys me is that they were actually working on 4K sets for for the original series, Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager until the acquisition, and now everything is on hold because they don't know how the new managers are going to feel about that. That's a lot of work, to do that, but because the fans have been demanding like Voyager and DS9 in high def, and because they always make money with the original series and Next Gen, they were like, let's do all of this all at once, and we're going to do 4K for all 4 shows.
I was blissfully ignorant of this. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I would love to see that, because there are some fans who are already working on those and doing really good work. So it's possible.
Well, yeah, and I mean, obviously, the stuff they do with like up conversion is nowhere near as good as if you have the original film and can actually do a 4K scan of it. That's going to look a lot better than like the up conversion stuff. But I do agree, fans are doing phenomenal stuff with up conversions and just taking what already exists on video and making it look nicer. There's a lot of work done on Babylon 5 before they actually released Blu-rays of Babylon 5, where I was like, this actually looks really good. They'd only be able to produce like 5 minutes of footage per month, but like they were doing like really good work.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I mean, we know some of these characters are going to continue, and I think, Stephen, you've kind of already said, but would you like to see a continuation of Discovery in some manner, whether it's specials or things like that? Like, Stephanie, do you think it's done, or would you like to see like more with the characters who aren't going into Starfleet Academy?
Who are you asking? Because you asked both of us.
Well, no, I said, Stephen, I think you've already kind of answered, but
Yeah.
Stephanie has like, what do you think about?
I mean, I would love to see a proper resolution to it. Because I do feel like, as I said at the beginning, I do think that Discovery will be remembered better than it is perceived as right now. But just like with Enterprise, it's going to be granted a huge disservice to everything that the show did if this is legitimately the end of it. So yeah, I would definitely love to have a little bit more closure with it in some form or another. They could potentially do that with Academy, but I think it would be kind of cool to have at least just a better send-off than what we got.
Yeah.
I would rather
see I'd rather see a Discovery movie than another Kelvinverse movie, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, but the news just loves to every 6 months put up like, oh, they're still working on another Kelvinverse movie.
Yeah.
Nobody really believes it anymore, but we'll keep reporting it. So yeah, I don't know if they'll ever get that thing off the ground, but I guess they're still trying. But yeah, for me, I would definitely like to see continuation with Discovery, or at the very least, give us just some closure on what the heck they're doing with Zora and what this whole thing of putting the ship out in the middle of space is. But yeah, I would especially if, like, for me, it's like we need Michael and we need Saru in a story.
Yeah.
And some of the other cast can change. Obviously the people they put into Starfleet Academy, maybe they're not in it. and maybe we get some new people for whatever, special or movie or whatever. But I would like to see a story with Michael and Saru together again, and as much of the cast as they can put together, around them. Because, like Saru to me has been the heart and soul of this show. And that's why I kind of feel season 5 was a bit of a, like that's part of what I'm feeling with this is like it felt like the heart and soul was not there, even though he was technically there because he wasn't central to the plot and the action. Frankly, I still feel like Saru should have remained captain
me
of the
too.
Discovery. That was because I like the idea of Saru as captain and Burnham as first officer, and I thought that was a great pairing and a great way to have the show, go.
I was actually waiting for you to pause in talking so that I could say I definitely agree that Saru was really let down in not being able to get the captain's chair, because I liked him in that position.
Yeah,
right.
Well, and I agree, because I think the show really is about Michael's character, right? The show is Michael's journey, and that's why that part of the ending kind of worked for me. Is it ends with Michael in the ship, and that's really what the show is. But Saru is her conscience, and so when Saru is her captain, he can be that conscience for her. When he was first officer or off the ship or whatever, it took him out of that role, and I think the show suffered from that.
Yep. Yeah, and again, I know that Michelle Yeoh's schedule is busy, but again, I feel like she was so much a part of the first 3 years of this show that I wish they could have gotten her to record, like even if it was something like from like a Zoom call or something, like just record her saying something or being part of this somehow, and just like get a few seconds of her time so there could be a message. Burnham discovers a message from Georgiou so that she knows that she arrived back in the past. Okay, something just so it's like so we have her as part of the ending, I think would have been like a great thing to have as part of the final season. But
I would also put into the Michael and Saru casting. I'd love to see Culber and Stamets back in too, because I love those characters.
Agreed.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's the show. Like, I feel like it's so weird because it's a show that I have so many plot problems with, but I actually enjoy watching. So I kind of
yeah,
exactly the same here.
Yeah,
as an actor, I love seeing that because so much of that is the acting, and I love seeing that.
Yeah. Although I still liked, it's so funny because the first season I just had no idea where the show was going, and I still, for a second, they made me believe that the point of the show was going to be like it was going to be about a Federation ship trying to survive in the mirror universe, and I was like, well, wouldn't that have been like a great, like show of, but yeah, we didn't go there, but that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I kind of already asked, but any other final thoughts from either of you? Steven, anything?
I guess no. It was nice that they touched back into the mirror universe before they left again. I like seeing that again. Just another little touch base on it. I kind of like forays into the mirror universe, especially when they're well done. So that was kind of nice to see. I wish they.
And also they had the set lying around from Strange New Worlds
right?
They could use
exactly. But I would love to. I wish they'd gotten another season.
Yeah,
I really do.
Okay, Stephanie, any final thoughts?
No, not really. I think we've covered pretty much all of it.
But yeah, I mean, I already mentioned the one thing that I thought of after we started going, which was the Detmer, and Owashikun getting like written out like midway through the season, where it was just like, really? After the fans have been complaining you don't spend enough time on those two, and then you're gonna write them out midway through the season? And I wondered if it was a cost-cutting thing too, where they were just like, well, we've got two characters who have been with the series for a long time but haven't been really developed, so why are we paying them, 5 seasons salary when we can just write them out? And I just like that's the wrong way to answer that, which is, oh, maybe we should give them a little something more because it's the last, well, I guess they didn't know it's the last, but still it's the 5th season, so like give them a little more to do, this time. But
make those hours of makeup that Detmer had to sit through worth it.
Yeah. But and the other thing is, I thought for sure, because there was another short trek at one point where it was like the android duplicate of Harry Mudd. I thought for sure that we were gonna at one point encounter an android Harry Mudd in the future. Because it's an android, it could live conceivably 1,000 years or whatever. So I was like, I was really expecting that we were gonna get, because again, calling back to the first season, we had Harry Mudd, in the show. And I thought at some point we would encounter him again, but then when they jumped to the future, it was like, okay, well they can't do that, but we had this short trek with an android Harry Mudd, so it's like maybe we'll encounter that, and we never got that. And I think that would have been like a nice, again, if they had more episodes. 10 episodes isn't like, for all the people that are like, oh, like, we should only have like 6 or maybe even 8 episode seasons. It's like, depends on what you're trying to do. Because I feel like for Star Trek, like 13's probably like the minimum for a good season. Like even the Strange New Worlds showrunners are complaining about the 10, and they don't have to they're not trying to do an arc.
Yeah.
They're just doing standalone, and they're like, come on, guys, give us more than 10. So, the problem is when we had 22 episode seasons, too many shows were phoning in too many episodes.
Right.
But I still feel like length isn't, you can't just say a one size fits all length for every show should be X number of episodes.
Right. I agree. And those should be set by the creative team and not by the streaming service or production team or whatever. But, but that never happens. And I'm sure there's a contractual reason, again, why, there's money behind why there's only 10 episodes.
Yep. But so I mean, we're heading into a landscape where there's just, conceivably Prodigy could be continued, but I don't think it's gonna happen because now that it's, it was sort of shunted off to Netflix, and the chances of Paramount wanting to do anything more with it are super low. And I do have a friend who's like, everybody get a Netflix account if you don't have one and watch Prodigy. We got to save this show. And I'm like, I think it's already done. But all right. So we're entering a landscape where we're gonna have Strange New Worlds, Starfleet Academy, and maybe Prodigy, and that's it. That's all we know for the future of Star Trek, and really only 2 of those, Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy, are sure things. So, we know we're going to get a Section 31 movie, but that's a one and done. And with Michelle Yeoh being as busy as she is, like, who knows if they'll ever get her again, to do like another one,
they were going to get a Section 31 series, and then Michelle Yeoh had to go win an Oscar. So it's a movie.
Right. Yeah. Like I bet like the Shazad Latif, who played
Ash Taylor.
Thank you. Tyler. Yeah.
Sorry,
Ash Tyler. Like, I bet he's disappointed because if it had been a show, he was going to be in it. And because it's a movie, it looks like he's not on the cast list. So like they had to really condense whatever they were going to do. So like, I feel bad for him because I remember I saw him at Dragon Con in 2019. We talked about how he was stoked for doing the Section 31. Back in 2019, they were talking about doing the Section 31 show, and he was like, like, I don't know, like, when we're gonna, start, like, shooting or anything, but he was, like, really excited about coming back and doing it, and it's like, there's no coming back and doing anything. So I feel bad for him.
It's a good, it was a good idea for a series. It really is. I think it would be fantastic, but so much potential wasted.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll talk about the movie when it comes out in January. I believe it's January is what they said is when it's coming out. But I don't know that for sure. I saw the trailer, and for some reason January is in my head of when it's debuting. But at any rate, so like this has been a lot of fun, guys. I hope Ryan is okay wherever he is. I don't know. I told him to use the call-in number, but I don't know what happened. He never called because the Zoom link also has like a call-in number that you can call in if you can't connect by internet. But anyway, all right. So let's say our goodbyes. Let people know where they can find us. So let's start with you, Stephanie.
Well, I'm pretty sure like one of our last podcasts, I was like, I'm not online all that much anymore. And now, thanks to me getting roped into cosplay again, that has changed again. And we'll go back to all my old El Crea handles, because that is my cosplay alias. So if you search for El Crea, ALKREA, and it's not me, add a lady before it, and there you go. Instagram is pretty much the only place where I couldn't get El Crea and had to go to Lady El Crea, but there are a handful of others. And that's where you'll find me posting about my costumes and things that I'm working on and conventions that we're going to, things like that. That's about it, though, because I'm not really participating in National Novel Writers Month anymore after everything that blew up in there. If you know, you know. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to be doing with my sharing of writing stuff as of right now. So, yep, for now, let's just go with cosplay, which is El Crea. That will be me.
All right. Steven?
Thanks again for having me. I always love doing these. So.
Oh, yeah, no, you're well enough. Like I've always told you, any Star Trek episode you will be on.
You know, just reiterating, making sure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. All right, Steven.
Yeah, and again, thank you for having me as well.
You're welcome.
I really love being on these. But yeah, we're depending on when this actually hits your podcast client and or your ears, in mid-August, I will be performing in Glen Ellen, Illinois, an original play called The Second to Last Exit. In the end of September, I will be performing in another original play called The Portrait of Dorian's Gray Hair at Elgin Fringe Festival. And The Gray Girl will be hitting streaming platforms at some point soon. I'm very excited to see it. I will be posting news on all of these appearances and where you can find me in the future on at Facebook at Stephen Pickering Performances. It's Stephen with a PH. Sorry, my parents couldn't spell when I was born.
Hey,
Stephen Pickering Performance.
You got it right. So
yeah, but see, they always say Stefan, and which I'm like, no, it's Stephen, but it's spelled with a P. And then or they write Stephen with a V because it's spelled PH, it's pronounced V, like I said.
Well, I guess my pen name is AK Stevens, so
okay.
I spell it the same way because it's just a play on my actual name.
See, you get it, but so many people. But anyway, Stephen Pickering Performances on Facebook and Instagram, which I'm still trying to figure out how to make that work or logical or anything. It's all pictures or it's maybe random, but I'm at Mallets Before Thought on Instagram, so you can catch stuff there. I'll try to post up. And I know that has a link to my Linktree as well. Both of those have a link to my Linktree, which I also keep up to date with all of my performances.
All right. Well, Stephanie and Steven, thank you so much for being on the show this week.
Thanks for having me. As I said, it was a pleasure to be here. It's always a joy to hang out with you, Nathan.
So that's it for Star Trek Discovery. What did you think about this season? What do you think about new Star Trek in general? What do you think about the Skydance purchase of Paramount? The rumor mill says that they're going to end the current line of Star Trek shows, let the deal with Alex Kurtzman's production company end. So basically, Strange New Worlds Season 5, which we already know is the end of Strange New Worlds, and then they'll do the 2 seasons of Starfleet Academy that have already been agreed to and let that expire. And then they're going to start a Star Trek Studios, similar to how Disney has Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm and how DC has DC Studios. So it will be one shop, basically, that handles any animated, live-action TV or film Star Trek projects. So what do you think about all of that? You can let us know in a bunch of different ways. One way is to email us at everything@42cast.com. Another way is to go to our website, 42cast.com, and leave us a message on any episode. You can also go to our Facebook, which is facebook.com/42cast, or you can go on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at 42cast and message us in any of those places. One other thing that you can do for us is to help us out on the ESO Network Patreon. It's a way to help all the shows on the ESO Network. There are different tiers with different perks. So you can get early episodes of some shows, exclusive episodes of some shows, and a whole exclusive ESO Network podcast. So to find that, you can go to patreon.com/ESO Network, and if you have the funds to contribute, we would greatly appreciate it. You can find me on 2 other shows. One is Time Streams, and one is Legendary Forces. Time Streams is my friend Juliet and I watching all of Doctor Who from the beginning. Legendary Forces is Juliet and I, joined by Joe, Corey, and Ashley, talking about Star Wars media from the beginning. Both of those shows have been on hiatus for a while, but as of the time of this recording, I am working on releasing both of them, so keep watching this space for more updates on that. In Watch News, Beth and I just finished the Penguin series. I was really impressed with it. I tend not to like shows that are spin-offs that delve too deeply into one of the villains. I don't find the Penguin to be a particularly compelling or interesting villain anyway in most versions of Batman, but I gotta say, Matt Reeves really pulled off something special there. It was a very good series. I was very engaged with it. Beth loved it too. So bravo to them. I was pleasantly surprised. We also started watching Dark Matter on Apple Plus. I'll have to get back to you guys on that one. So far, it's not really hooking me, and some of the premise has really turned Beth off, so I'll let you know what we decide. We're going to watch a few more episodes and see what we think. We also started watching Shrinking on Apple Plus. It's a weird comedy series about a therapist who needs therapy himself, basically. And it's got Harrison Ford, which is probably the primary hook. I've laughed and thought it was funny. Beth also thought it was funny. It's nothing too special, but we were amused and diverted, which is kind of the point of a comedy anyway. So we'll probably keep watching that. We're also watching Citadel Honey Bunny, which is the third of the Citadel series. This one is set in India and features two agents. One's called Honey, one's called Bunny, which is why the show gets the name. It actually takes place years ago and is kind of setting up and explaining some things that happened in the other two Citadel series. So I'm very interested when Citadel Season 2 comes out and how it's going to weave together everything from that first season of Citadel Diana, and then Citadel Honey Bunny. So we'll see how it goes, but so far Beth and I have been thoroughly engaged with the whole Citadel Maxiverse. So hopefully we won't be disappointed by how it all resolves. There's no con news as of yet. I expect this year will be just like last year, and I'll only be able to go to Chicago TARDIS, but keep watching this space for any updates on that score. Alright, that's a wrap for this week. Join us back next week when Jonathan Frakes will not be joining us, and until then, this is Nathan, signing off. You have been listening to the 42 Cast, copyright 2026. Got a question for the ultimate answer? Contact us at everything@42cast.com. Theme music is Sharper Swords by Brandon Ellis. Check out more of his work at www.cityfires.com. The 42 Cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.